You're listening to Storage Nerds Podcast, where we unravel the best-kept secret of the real estate investing world, the storage industry. Join the grassroots guru in self-storage, Stacy Rosetti, in insightful discussions about finding, funding, and running these spaces, allowing you to yield the highest returns possible. Get your foot in the door on self-storage and discover how to properly purchase facilities, negotiate with sellers, and close the deal without worries. Start unpacking that investment wisdom with Stacy right now.
We did what I called infill training day this past weekend. It was awesome. It was fun. And I like to do the infill training days because I actually get to meet all my students, because Storage Nerds is really completely virtual. So I don't really get to meet anybody unless they show up and actually come hang out with me for the day. And so I got to meet like a good handful of my students, and we got to hang out and just like talk shop. But again, I just wanted to put this down so that you guys know, because I love driving for storage, and I'm really so proud of my students. I've been doing coaching calls all day, and they're getting out and they're talking to owners. The only way you're ever going to find a facility is if you talk to owners, right? Okay, so hashtag driving for storage. If you do go out and drive for storage, then tag me in there and put hashtag driving for storage so I can see you out driving for storage. Take a picture of yourself while you're driving, not while you're driving, but like take your picture while you're out looking for storage. And then just put hashtag driving for storage and tag me so I can see you, and say like, hey, everybody, I'm looking for storage facilities. I'm going to buy one, start putting it out to the universe that, you want to buy storage facilities, right? Because guess what? The universe listens. It listens. So if you put it out to the world, it will hear you. Okay, so hashtag driving for storage equals market research. Hashtag driving for storage equals market research. So what that means is that if you are out driving for storage, you're really getting to know the market. You're getting to know what facilities are out there. I talked to one student today, and she's like, I drove for an hour, and she's like, all I saw were just big box companies. And I was like, well, then you never left a primary market. You never left the primary market, right? So, you need to be focusing on, probably in her area, because she's in the Northeast, tertiary markets, because the secondary and the primary markets are so expensive, unless she has like millions of dollars, but she doesn't, right? So essentially, she needs to be going further out. So we sat on a map, looked at the map, and we tried to figure out which areas would be good for her to be focusing on. And she was like, well, I really want to have like, a facility closer to me, not so far out. And I said, well, then you need to wholesale the first couple of storage facilities, right? Wholesale them. And then once you make the money on those wholesale deals, $50,000 on each or something, then you can take that money and you could use it as a down payment for a bigger facility that's closer to you, right? So that's kind of the way that I told her to do it, because she really does want to have something kind of more closer to her area, but she lives in a secondary market, and the facilities are just too expensive out there, so she needs to wholesale, and then maybe come up with a good amount of money for a down payment, and then still get out there and look and find something. And then when she comes across something that she wants to buy, then she can just partner with one of the students in the group, right? Or something like this, because there's a lot of students in that area. So I said, just get out there and make some money first. So that's kind of how I did it. But anyway, so driving for storage equals market research. Get out there and start really driving around and looking at the facilities that you have, and go as far out into the country as you can, so that you can see what a primary market looks like, a secondary market, and a tertiary market looks like. So you want to really know and understand all three markets. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're going to get into my 6-step system again, and I'm going to break it down even more today. I'm getting super deep, right? So, okay, so remember that we talked about this. This is the 6-step system, all right? And this is derived from me just teaching over the last 10, I guess I've been teaching 7-8 years, a long time I've been teaching. And I've been teaching the 6-step system for a long time here. 6-step system is what I call a 6-step system. to storage. Okay. And I'm just going to break it down. And it looks, remember, if you guys remember, it looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? This is like you, right? Or your business. You've got the office, setting up your office. You've got marketing. You've got acquisitions. You've got finance. You've got management. And you've got liquidate. And these are all the different departments of your business, right? So, and this is a step-by-step process. First step, second step, third step, fourth step, fifth step, and sixth step, right? Okay, so this is basically what I call the 6-step system. All right, and this is your department. This is what your self-storage investing business looks like. Even though you visually can't see this, all these departments, all these steps here are all moving. They're working at the same time. It's actually a lot. It's a lot of work, right? This ain't easy. All right. So I wanted to dig a little bit deeper in that today. So essentially, I talked about your first step, which is your office admin. All right, this is you setting up your office. All right, and inside your office, this is what you're going to need. All right, and we'll just kind of work it this way. First, you're going to need to structure your company. Now, I'm not going to get into how you want to structure your company, right? But essentially, most of the time, a self-storage company is an LLC, right? Unless you get into like bigger facilities and stuff, or whatever. But like, your very first facility, you're going to have it as an LLC. But you want to learn really how to structure your company properly. Now, in the Super Simple Self-Storage course, this goes for my students and for like non-students that are here hanging out and listening to me. In the Super Simple Self-Storage course, there's a bonus section, right? There's a bonus section, and it's for guests. It's from guest speakers. And one of my really, really good friends, Deanna Britt, she came and she taught to storage nerds one time, and about a year ago or so, and she taught all the different ways that you can structure your business. So that's a bonus. So when you buy that course, all right, or if you're one of my students, then your homework is to go and watch that section inside the course. And you'll see when you get inside that there's just like guest speakers, and you open that up and you'll see how to structure your business, or I think it's like business structuring 101 or something. And she goes into like all the different types of business structures out there. Okay. So that's your bonus, and that's your homework. All my students, that's your homework. So bonus, her name was Deanna Britt. Okay. And it's business structure 101. That's a bonus, all right, in the course. Super Simple Self-Storage online course. That's where it's at, okay? SSSS, okay? Okay, so that's the first thing, is how do you structure your business? How do you structure that? And then as you get into really getting into like purchasing commercial real estate, like you're going to get into even more advanced stuff. Actually, in January, my husband's going to teach things like land trusts, and we do a lot of like estate planning and stuff like this, because really in commercial real estate, once you get into this, like you start owning a lot of property that's like kind of like expensive, right? That's a good thing about like investing in commercial real estate, is like you start like owning a lot of property that's like worth a lot of money, right? And you're like, okay, now I have like a lot of money. Now what the hell do I do? How do I structure everything? How do I protect everything, right? And so that's in there as too. But Land trusts. That is another thing that you can learn about under office admin. And that is also, we have a guest speaker. His name is Randy, and he's actually my coach on land trusts. And he came and talked to the Storage Nerds group as well. And he went over a whole section on like land trusts and how to set them up and what they are and stuff. And so that also is a guest speaker. It's a guest speaker for in the Super Simple Self-Storage online course. And so you can watch that as homework as well too. So that's also in the course, right? And then also you want to be completely electronic and completely virtual, which means that you want to be in the cloud. Everybody knows this. If you're not in the cloud, then that means you got to be at work, you got to be at home doing your stuff, right? So me, essentially, like Pete and myself, we can literally run our businesses from our phone. And I do, because I live in an RV and travel. And half the time I don't got internet because it don't work, right? So I got to run off my phone a lot of times, right? So you want to be managing and running your business from your phone. So that, I say, is like, are you completely 100% virtual? If you're still sitting there with like a file full of papers and stuff, I was like, you ain't in the 21st century anymore, right? Contracts, electronic. Everything's electronic nowadays, right? So you want to work on getting in the cloud. So I talk about that in the course as well too. All right. So I just want to get into that. So that's basically office admin. Another thing that we didn't do, add a little arm here, is the phones, right? Make sure you have like a business phone, and then you have like the phone that you talk to the sellers to. Like, you don't want two phones, but you want two lines, right? So you don't want the people that you're talking to about, buying their properties on calling the same number that your tenants are calling, right? So it's like a business line and then like the tenant line for your company. So essentially now we have, like, of course we've got a lot of facilities, so we got like 15 lines, but essentially you want a separate line that is like your business number. Okay. Okay, so that's office admin on, like, that's kind of the stuff that we go over in, plus a lot more, but I can't think of it all right now. Okay, that's office admin. All right, that's setting up your office. We're getting ready to get some phone calls is what we're doing. That's what I really want. I want to get you ready to get some phone calls from sellers. Okay. Step 2, right, was the marketing, right? The marketing. All right, y'all all know how I find my facilities, right? All the different strategies of finding facilities. And you know how I do this is driving for storage, right? And using Google Maps. All right, Kathleen did a great job. I know she's here. She taught us some secret stuff that only Storage Nerds people know about how to find facilities online. But essentially, you're going to be online looking for facilities and then calling owners, right? And I get into how to do that in the course, but you want to be using Google Maps to find facilities. And I'll give you like one tip, one good tip, right? Is one of the ways that we find them is Google business listings, right? Checking Google business listings. And then you want to just think about when somebody wants to rent a storage facility, right? Where do they go? They go on their phone, they open up Google Maps, and then they just type storage near me, right? Storage near me, storage near me, or something like that, right? And then all the storage facilities come up. You can't see that because it's all blurred. But essentially all the storage facilities in the area come up. Oh, there's a lot of storage facilities in here. And then you can go through and check them to see if their Google business listings are filled out properly. Okay. So it's one of the many ways to find storage, right? And this is like the grassroots level, right? This is not like, let me just go look on the MLS, because guess what? Every storage facility that comes up in the MLS for Georgia, I get notified, right? My realtor is looking for storage facilities for me on the MLS every single day. Why? Because he wants to make some money off of me. But guess what? I ain't got an email from him in a long time for a storage facility for sale on the MLS, right? And then if you go on to like Crexy or LoopNet, everybody is like, if it's a small deal, you got way too many people trying to get those deals. And they're also, the numbers are not good. So you want to be talking to the owners directly. All right. And I teach driving for storage, or I teach Google using Google Business Listings and Google Maps. All of my students that just joined here, they all came to the boot camp a couple of weeks ago. And we spent the entire time, not the entire, but a lot of time going over like all the different ways to find facilities. And then also in the Super Simple Self-Storage course for all of my students, all those ways are all there. There's a whole bunch of different videos in there that you can watch, and it gives you all the different ways and how to do it. Okay, so if you have not watched those videos to my students, then essentially that is your homework, is to get your marketing going, right? Because you can't put any offers in until you find deals. So essentially step one is finding deals, right? Getting out there and looking. And I talked to so many students today, man, all my coaching calls today. And like everybody's finding deals. It's awesome. Y'all are all getting out there and looking for some deals. So many good deals. All right. I'm just so excited about this deal. I have one of my students, man, she got a good deal. I can't wait to buy this sucker. 720 units for $3.6 million. Such a good deal. Such a good deal. So we're getting that one under contract right now. And then we got a lot of good deals. Anyways, I'm so excited. Okay. All right. Okay. Now we got some marketing going, and you need to have a couple of different marketing strategies, right? So driving, calling owners, looking on Google Maps, you want to have a couple of, you want to feel like, okay, I'm only going to be cold calling. That's it. Like, it just doesn't work, right? You have to have a couple of different strategies going. Now you're starting to talk to owners. All right. Okay. Step 3 is acquisitions. All right. What is this? This is commercial deal analysis. Commercial deal analysis. Okay. And what that means is that you've got to learn how to run numbers, right, for commercial property. Actually, you have to learn how to run numbers for storage facilities. But the funniest thing is I have a student too. She's like, I was calling around. She's like, I have a guy. She's like, he has a storage facility, but he also has an RV park, and he wants to sell both. And I was like, awesome. She's like, how do I run the RV park numbers? I was like, exactly the same way that you run storage facilities, except for there's no square footage, right? Because there's no square footage. But other than that, you've got to know the purchase price, the vacancy, the total income, the total expenses, like all the basic stuff. And so she sat there and she used the deal analyzer and she ran the numbers on an RV park, right? And we came up with the number. He said he wanted 500,000. I told her I said 500,000 is actually a good price for this thing. I was like, but just put an offer in for 450. So she's going to just put an offer in for 450 on this RV park that she called. And when she was calling and talking to these owners, he wants to sell both. And she's putting an offer in for both, obviously. But like I said, just put an offer in for the RV park. And if we don't want it, guess what? Then we'll just wholesale it to somebody else, because everybody wants to buy RV parks right now too, you know? So when you learn commercial deal analysis, you get to learn how to run deal analysis on all commercial deals, right? It's the same concept. It's the same exact concept, except for it's just a different product. And that's what I love about commercial deal analysis. So you could buy buildings, retail buildings, RV parks, mobile home parks, storage facilities, multifamily. So you could do all that with commercial deal analysis, which I love personally. I was talking to a really good friend, Carson, the other day. And he just bought like 3 mobile home parks. And so he was sitting there and talking to me about like how he runs his numbers, and he's got his net and his gross and his net. And he's like, what about you? And I ran mine. I mean, I was talking to him about how I do mine. It was exactly the same thing. I was like, man, this is awesome. And we could like talk. We were like talking in like commercial deal lingo to each other. And he was like, yeah, what's your gross income? And I was like, man, it's so good to be able to just talk to people that just like, get me, So anyways, my 2 cents. So learn how to run commercial deal analysis. Now, when you join Storage Nerds, you obviously get the deal analyzer, but also if you purchase the course, if you decide to purchase the course, then you will get a deal analyzer as well too. And then you can run commercial deal analysis. And I have a video that goes through it so you can start looking at running numbers. But you have to learn things like cap rate, yield. It's all about making offers. So you learn how to run commercial deal analysis so that you can, make offers, right? That's what you want to do. You want to make an offer. And I keep telling all my students is like, just put the offer in, just make offers. Who cares if they take it or not? It's just practice. That's really what it is. They could just be like, no, you're stupid. Like, you suck. Like, I'm never going to sell it. Or they could be like, let me just think about it, So just make an offer. But make an offer based on what you feel is the best number, right? So you don't want to be making an offer just because, I just really want this deal. Make an offer, right? And sometimes I have to talk my students out of like making offers because I just feel like those prices, they're just so desperate to get a deal. And I'm like, okay, so that's why you have to learn commercial deal analysis. And then you just got to put offers in. When you make your offer, you want to really truly understand, right, the primary, secondary, and tertiary markets of your area, right? We go over this. Primary, secondary, tertiary. Okay. And you want to know in the primary market, it's a 4 to 6 cap rate. This is cap rate. In the secondary market, it's a 6 to 8% cap rate. In the tertiary, it's 8 plus. Okay, pretty much we're running numbers at an 8 cap or less. I focus on tertiary markets, secondary to tertiary markets. So I'm usually I'm a 7 to 8 cap kind of girl. You'll figure out what kind of person you are. I'm just a 7 to 8 cap kind of girl. That's what I am, right? So you want to make sure that you make an offer based on your area. One of the things that I noticed that a lot of people struggle with is what's called market cap rate. That's what this is. It's the market cap rate. Okay. And that's just like in this typical area, what's the typical price? In this area, what's the typical price that a facility is going to be selling at, right? And then once you learn what those cap rates, and the reason I always teach this is because when you go onto Crexi or LoopNet and you start looking at deals and you'll see like a tertiary market facility selling at a 6 cap, right? That is not good. Not good. All right. And when you go online, you're going to find that. But when you talk to a seller face to face, you ain't going to get that number. You're going to higher cap rate, and you want to buy at the highest cap rate that you want to buy at the highest cap rate you possibly can and sell at the lowest cap rate. Okay. That's what you want to do. Except for mismanaged facilities. That's a whole different ballgame. But most typically you buy high, sell low, right? Okay. And then also in here, in the course, the Super Simple Self-Storage course, you're going to learn, right, total population divided by total square footage. Okay, total population divided by total square footage equals 6 to 8, right, per capita. This is per capita, okay? So when you find a facility in the storage investing world, competition is super duper 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 important, okay? So we don't run comps on residential. You don't look at what other storage facilities sold for. You look at income, right? Then you look at the competition, right? What is it making right now and what it could be making, right? That's basically it. It's on the deal analyzer, when you get it and when you're looking at it, that is why we have as is versus potential versus opportunity, right? As is versus opportunity is really what you're looking at. So as is right now, what's the income? And based on what the competition is selling for, this is what we could be doing. And so like now a lot of like REITs or bigger companies, they're going to be like, okay, what's the cash flow? A lot of REITs, they really focus on cash flow. How much money am I going to make on a regular basis? Because when you borrow that money from a fund, when you get that money from a fund, you got to be paying it and stuff like this, so essentially. But on the on the opportunity side, looking at the competition is really going to help you to determine what the fair market value for your price per square foot is. All right. What's the fair market value of your price per square foot? And you should be at that. There's no reason for you to be below. I mean, I just had one student, she bought a $3 million facility and she's like, should I just tear the Band-Aid off and just go for it? Or should I do incremental adjustments? And I was like, just tear the Band-Aid off. There's no reason for you to be any cheaper than anybody else. In fact, you are going to be higher than everybody else. That's your goal, right? So that's what you need to look at. And so when you start finding facilities, based on as is versus competition versus opportunity based on the competition, then essentially what you're going to do is say, okay, I think I can buy it at this much and I can increase it to this much. All right. So now the question is it a good area to buy in? Is it a good area to buy in? So essentially in a primary market, you're at like less than a mile, right? You're at a mile or less for the radius of where you should be looking at your competition. All right. So it's less than a mile. Okay, that's a less than sign, hopefully. And then on the secondary less than 3 miles, and tertiary less than 5 miles. And then sometimes in the tertiary, you could go up to 10 miles. Like we just bought a couple here in Florida, and the town has around 10,000 people, but in a 10-mile radius, there's 25,000 people, right? So you can look like in tertiary, you can go bigger radiuses, but essentially like in that radius of where that facility is that you want to buy, essentially you're going to look at now the total population of that number in that radius divided by the total square footage. How do you find the total square footage? Well, you're either have to manually do it, or you're going to have to figure it out by doing some research and using certain kinds of software or whatever to find total square footage. All right. But essentially that is what you need to do. And if the number is between 6 and 8, right, then it's a thumbs up. All right. And if it's below or above, it's a thumbs down. Okay. And so that's what you need to do. All right. So primary, and Eric says primary, secondary, and tertiary markets is like when you are driving and you are seeing big box companies, you are in a primary market. Okay. When you drive out, it's like big box, like U-Haul and Extra State Space Storage and all this kind of whatever, Life Storage or whatever these big ones are, CubeSmart, then that means you're in a primary market. Now, they are starting to get into secondary markets. I've noticed that they're moving into secondary markets, these big box companies. So you could possibly be into a secondary market, but you won't see a lot of them in a lot of areas. But in the secondary markets, you see big box, like big storage facilities, but they have like a different name, like Canton Self-Storage or something like this. Like it's like a different type of, like it's a big facility, but has like a different name to it, right? But it looks like a brand new, nice big facility. Okay. So then when you get into tertiary markets, then you're like, you can find any of that. There's going to be like Butch's storage is what there is going to be, right? It's going to be like everything that we've ever bought is always like Butch's storage or let's see which one we buy. Rainbow, we're buying one Rainbow storage right now. We bought a lot of Rainbow. We got 2 Rainbow storages. That's like a Rainbow storage. Anyways, so but like, or AAA storage, like you'll get a lot of like AAA storages or like A&A storage, that kind of stuff. So that's like really kind of like the secondary to the tertiary. So it's like primary to secondary, and then there's secondary, and there's secondary to tertiary, and then there's like tertiary to tertiary. Okay. That makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Acquisitions. So I go over all of this in the course under the acquisitions department. So for super simple self-storage, all my students, you guys can get in there and y'all can watch that immediately. And hopefully non-students in the meantime, while the doors are not open for storage nerds, I recommend that you buy my course and go through it. All right. The doors are not going to open until next year. Okay. Until 2022. Okay. End of January, maybe February of 2022. Okay. So now we got some commercial deal analysis going. And we're getting starting to make offers, and the more offers that you make, the better that you get at negotiating, right? The better that you get. It's all just experience. If you don't have a coach, it's, you just get out there and try. If you have a coach, I'll tell you what to do. But, and then you just make offers, right? Just put an offer in, right? That's all you got to do. Just put an offer in. I think the worst they could do is just say no, right? And just laugh in your face. Even if it's a super low offer, they just be like, ha, ha, ha. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to go over is the next step. So now you put this offer in, right? And now you're like, oh my gosh, he said yes. Now what do I do? This person said yes, right? That's a whole next step. And the next step is finding the money. So let's do that. So now we're in step 4, finance. Okay. So now we got to find some money, honey, right? So depending on what type of a deal that you buy, it's going to matter who's going to be funding it or how you're going to fund it, right? And I go into all the different deals actually on the first session, on the first module. When you get into the admin part and the office part of the course, we'll go through all the different types of deals, but I'm going to list those out right here so we can talk about the money for each deal. All right. So everybody knows what I buy. I buy mismanaged properties. Mismanaged properties means that it's 75% full or less. All right. That means that a bank is not going to fund these. A bank wants to fund something that's like an amazing, beautiful investment that you're going to make money on. Right. And mismanaged properties for the first year, at least you ain't making no money on it. You got to come out of pocket. Okay, you got to come out of pocket. But the reward is that you're doubling to tripling even more the value of the property. You're at least doubling to tripling the value of the property. Okay, that's why I like mismanaged properties. Now, with mismanaged properties, you can't go to a bank and get funding for it. So what you do is you either find private lenders, you find hard money lenders, or you find partners, right? Or you do what I'm doing and you start a fund. Right? Or you can syndicate, right? That's all the ways that you can fund a mismanaged facility. You can find partners, or you can use your own cash, own money. Now, you really don't want to use your own money, right? You want to leverage everybody else's money, but some people, they just think inside the box. You want to learn how to leverage other people's money, and you do that by finding private lenders, hard money lenders, partners, a fund, or syndication. Okay. Now, the second way to invest in self-storage is income producing properties, right? Income. When you find an income producing property, the owner gives you a P&L, gives you a balance sheet, gives you everything that you need. They're just like, hell yeah, I'm going to be selling this thing for the top dollar. Here's my P&L. Here's my balance sheet. Here's my rent roll. Here's my survey, right? Everything that you can imagine is all there for you. Okay. So with that, you can take all that and then you could go to a bank. Guess what? Banks love storage facilities. All right. Why would banks love storage facilities? Does anybody have any guess? If you have a guess, put it into the chat. All right. With a bank, you want to first try a local bank. I'm talking about so if you're going to go and build a facility in Worcester, Ohio, then you're going to be going to the Worcester Bank of Ohio, right? You're going to go to the Worcester Community Bank. All right. Something like that is what you're going to do. Community banks love storage facilities, and they also love new construction. So if you want to build, then you just go to a local bank and they're going to give you the money. I mean, just as long as you've got 20% down, right? You need 20% down, and then they'll fund the rest. You get awesome interest rates. I'm seeing awesome interest rates right now. Okay. So that's local bank. You can get an SBA loan. SBA loves storage facilities. All right. So you want to go, you can, especially the bigger facilities, right? I'm talking about they're bigger would be like maybe 500,000 plus, right? They'll do 75% full or more is what they'll do, right? 75% full or more. So, they don't want to have anything. And local banks will do 75% full or more, essentially, but anything under 75% is considered a mismanaged facility. But if you get a rent roll, a P&L, and a balance sheet, like you can definitely get an SBA loan, okay? Let's see what else is there. Oh, yeah. And then you can also do the same things. You can fund, you can get a partners, equity. When you get into the commercial real estate investing world, you have to learn how to partner on deals. It's called creative deal structuring. Because banks can only go so far, right? So you got to be open to partnering and having people bring money into your deals, doing things like syndication and funding. Because unless you just want to buy like a couple of $200,000 facilities, it's just your money ain't going to go that far, right? I have one student right now that he bought a facility for like $450,000, and he put 20% down. He's buying a second facility, 20% down. It's around 400,000 or 450, same kind of deal. And then now he's trying to buy this $800,000 facility. He has the money to put down. He has to 20% down. So he just went to the local bank, and the local bank was like, sorry, but you are now over leveraged. We are not lending to you, right? So on these types of deals, you have to think outside the box, right? So this is called creative deal structuring, right? So in the finance department, you have to learn how to structure deals. And I just love this so much. I love this. My favorite part of commercial real estate is just like figuring out how to put deals together. I like to figure out how to put deals together, but not put any money into the deal. That's my favorite thing ever. All right. And so that's kind of how it works. All right. So that is a huge part of the finance department. And actually the truth is in Storage Nerds, we go over this basically every Tuesday we go over this, but every Tuesday that we meet, because a student comes on and they talk about how they fund their deal, and so people get to hear all the different ways that people are funding their deals, which is awesome. But when I say creative deal structuring, I'm talking about partnering, equity partners, right? General partnerships, talking about funds, like a Reg D fund, crowdfunding, and syndications. All right. Like this student that has this $3.6 million deal. I mean, essentially, I'm just going to pitch it to Storage Nerds and see who wants to, put money in. And we're going to just see how much money we can raise from everybody in Storage Nerds, because it's such a fantastic deal. And then outside the realm, all my lenders and stuff, I already pitched it to one of my lenders, and she was like, yeah, I'm in. So that kind of stuff is what is like partnering and then coming together, pooling your money together, create a company and purchase it. Okay, that kind of stuff is my favorite thing about commercial real estate. Okay, another thing that we mentioned, so there's I mentioned new construction. You can just go to a loan and get a bank, right? The two most popular ways of getting into self-storage are mismanaged facilities and income-producing properties. So I kind of went over that, but inside the course, I'll go over the other different ways as well too, and really how to fund those and things. Okay, so all my students should be watching that. All right, that is the finance department. 6, we have management. All right, and in the management department, this is where you learn to train your tenants. What are the rules you should have in running your business as to how you set up your payments from your customers, right? So this is really payments. But any other rules, right? So for instance, you can't, work on your car at the facility if you do parking and stuff. Yeah, one guy's always working on his car. We're like, you can't work on your car. We're getting all of it. We're not even, we're not even parking cars anymore. Like, I'm just like, I told Pete, I was like, that is it. Like, no more cars. Like, we are only doing boat and RV or big rigs, because we have one facility that we park big rigs. It's like no cars, no like SUVs or trucks or anything like that, because people are just like, they put their car in and they just let it rot. It just sits there and just rots. And I get that, but like, then it makes your facility look all trashy and stuff. And I just don't like that. So anyway, so we are no longer like parking cars. But like, it's just a lesson that we've learned over the past 5 years. It's just not worth our time anymore. For $35, getting in there and picking all the trash up, and they're working on their cars and stuff, I was just like, that's it. We're not doing it anymore. Okay. Training your tenants, rules, like coming up with these types of rules. And like, as you grow, like we started out with one contract, and as we grow, we have like several contracts. But you do want to follow your state rules. So know your state rules for owning and managing storage. Now we get into that, into the and how you learn how to do all that into the course, but essentially you've got to find out from your state what you should be doing, right? And every state has a self-storage association, so you can always start there. Everybody should just become a member of their self-storage association and just start educating yourself. I was a member for like a year or two maybe, and then I just wasn't my thing anymore, because it's all really the self-storage associations are really focused on kind of bigger facilities, and not really mom and pop shops. Honestly, they're just not. So after a year or two, I just got tired of it and I just left. But like, I learned a little bit, at least in the beginning, from them. They do like workshops and stuff like this. It's really a lot of like vendors pitching and stuff. That's another thing that kind of annoys me. You also have to set up your software. And and so learn all the different types of softwares out there. There's like, when I started, there was only like 3 or 4, and now there's like, I don't know, 10 or 15. So there's a lot. So I don't really know all of them, honestly, but I do know the big ones. But you have to figure out which one fits for you, not like what everybody else is doing, but which one kind of fits your personality. And so how do you manage this? You manage your facility, you manage it from your software. Like essentially you're managing your facility from your software virtually on the computer, right? And like our office manager is just on the computer taking calls and just doing whatever, right? And we can manage our facilities from our phone, right? So we can get in and do all the high level stuff from our phone. And then Bonnie is managing all the calls and stuff from her computer is what she's doing, okay? So that's software. Okay. And then also you have to learn the auction process. All right. The auction process is complicated. It ain't easy. All right. It ain't easy being green. All right. You got to learn. And so what you have to do is you have to learn the auction process of your state, right? And you can do that by joining an association or joining Storage Nerds and seeing how we manage it. But essentially, within your contract, it'll state what the auction process is. And we bought a facility once where he was like, we just made up our own auction process. I was like, you can't just make up your own auction process. You can't make up your own process. You got to follow the state process, right? And the auction process, it adheres to towing and auctioning, vehicles, personal property, getting rid of other people's property. That's considered an auction, right? And even the auctions and big auctions, auctioneering and furnitures and all this, they all follow these laws. And there are laws in every single state. And so we have to learn those laws. We'll be discussing this on December 19th in Storage Nerds for all of the students. My husband Pete teaches this session, and because he had to sit there and really figure all that out. And so he's going to come in and show everybody in Storage Nerds that process so that y'all can just take it and follow it in your business. So that's kind of the gist of management. All right. That's kind of how it works. All right. Now you're setting it up. You're getting your automations and stuff. You're starting to make some money, right? And the last process is the last step is liquidations. And this is where you're going to learn things like 1031 exchange. And you're going to learn owner financing, which also we talk about owner financing in the the creative deal structuring part as well too. The owner financing, holding, like buying holds, and then selling, which are kind of the main types of options that you have when liquidating. If you do decide to liquidate, right? So eventually you're gonna sell, right? And so the question is like, how do you figure out what's the best way for you to sell your property? Okay. And then as a bonus, and everybody should have watched this. We talked about this in the boot camp a couple of weeks ago. We talked about this, but like one of my favorite ways to make money in self-storage is to wholesale. And this is a bonus session in the course, but like you want to really, the wholesaling is when you go out and find a seller, all right, and you go out and find a buyer. You find the seller, you find the buyer. That's how it works. And you are the middle person in between. And you are kind of like a broker, but not really a broker. You basically work with what's called an assignable contract. And you assign that contract. You put the facility under contract. You do that. You put the facility under contract so that you can sell it, because by law, you can't sell any property unless you have equitable interest in it. You want to have equitable interest in your property. So you do that by making a contract, and you sign it. Okay, that's my contract. Okay. And then you go over here and you have another contract. And you're just assigning it. This is the seller, you to the seller, and this is you to the buyer. Or you could do an assignable, you could do an amendment or whatever, but essentially I usually just do 2 separate contracts just to keep it clean. And then you'll put the facility under contract to say for $500,000, and you'll sell it to this person for $600,000, and you get that money in the middle, whatever it is. I'm buying from a wholesaler right now. He put it under contract for $175,000, and he's selling it to me for $225,000. So essentially, he's going to make $50,000 on this deal, and he is a wholesaler. Essentially, that's what he does, is wholesale storage. So $175,000, and then he put it under contract for $175,000 with the seller, and then he put it under contract with me for $225,000. I'm the buyer. So he gets that cut in the middle. That's wholesaling. And inside the Super Simple Self-Storage online course, there is a section in there. It's a bonus section on wholesaling. And I go into like how to wholesale a storage facility. Okay. Now I do not give you a contract in order to do that. You do have to have a special contract in the course, but essentially as a storage nerd student, you do get this. So everybody has that contract. Okay. So that is the Super Simple Self-Storage online course. All right. So I say, if you are not a storage nerd, you should be watching this in between, because it at least get y'all ready for joining too as well. Or you could just go out and do it on your own. If people are like, I don't want to join storage nerds, I'm just going to go out and do it on my own. Then do that. Right. So Super Simple Self-Storage. You just have to go to stacyrosetti.com and click on courses. Okay. The course is $9.97. That's how much it is. $9.97 to learn how to invest in self-storage. I don't think that's too shabby. Now, I can stop this screen and just jump on real fast so I can show y'all what that looks like. All my students, you guys all know how to get on there, because you guys go there to do your homeworks. Watch the thing. Let me see here. Storage. No, that's not what I wanted. Stacy Rosetti. And so my live cast obviously did not work on Zoom. So not Zoom, YouTube. So obviously I have no idea how to do that yet. And let me move this out of the way. This is what it looks like. You just go to online courses, and it says Super Simple Self-Storage online course. This is the course that's going to help you get started. at least get started. You know what I'm saying?
Hey everybody, my name is Stacy Rosetti, and thank you for.
And this is the page, all right? So this is the Super Simple Self-Storage online course. This is the page. So I just want to show that to y'all so y'all knew where y'all should go. Okay? And all of my students, I appreciate you hanging out and listening to me. And you guys now have the 6-step system. Y'all know exactly what you should be focusing on to get started. I went super deep into all of the departments, and you should have a step-by-step process on what you should be doing. And what is the first thing that you should be doing? In this, the first step is set your office up. Once you get that, start marketing and talking to owners so that you can start learning how to talk to them. All right, that's your first step. Okay, marketing so that you can talk to owners and learning how to do that. Okay, all right. So I am going to let you guys go. I appreciate you hanging out with me tonight again, and I will see you guys at the next session. All right, take care.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storage Nerds. Hope this informative conversation inspired you to go out there and jump into this highly profitable business venture that people rarely talk about. Get more tips on storage space investing at www.stacyrosetti.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave a rating. Together, let's build that thriving passive income one storage space at a time. Until next time.